Hey my glam girls, welcome back to my channel. It's Chelsea, where we talk about all things glam and all things girly. Now today, we have a concealer showdown that I am very excited about, and I want you to take a guess now. Leave your comment down in the comment section below. Which side of my face do you think I'm wearing which concealer? Let's actually bring the concealers out. So, we've got the new Makeup by Mario Awakening Concealer compared to the new Haus Labs Tri-Clone Skin Tech Concealer. So tell me down below, which side of my face do you think I'm wearing Makeup by Mario or I am wearing Haus Labs? But before we get into this video, I just want to say thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I truly do appreciate it. And if you are new, I would love for you to click that subscribe button, join the Glam Girl Squad, because we love to have you. And if you are a returning subscriber but you have not subscribed, because y'all be doing that, come on and click the subscribe button. Join the Glam Girl Squad, because we'd also love to have you. And to all my returning subscribers, you guys know I love you from the bottom of my heart. Thanks so much for being a part of the Glam Girl Squad. And let's get right into this video. Okay. So we got two new concealers that I'm really excited about, because both of these concealers are claiming very similar things, but they're also claiming to do a lot of a lot. And so we just want to see today which one's really going to do a lot and be the better one. So starting off with the new Haus Labs Tri-Clone Skin Tech Concealer. It does come in 33 shades. It retails for $32, and we get a total of 0.24 ounces or 7 milliliters of product. I did pick up the shade 31, which is going to be for medium neutral complexions. And this concealer has not released yet on the date that I am filming this. It is going to be available September the 7th. So stay tuned for that. So this says that this is a lightweight, long-wearing, non-comedogenic concealer that does more than cover. It's going to visibly blur, depuff, brighten, and conceal with medium buildable coverage. It says that the finish is natural, and some of the highlighted ingredients are niacinamide that's going to brighten and boost the skin hydration, fermented Mica. This is going to reduce the look of redness and irritation, and then hyaluronic acid complex, which is going to visibly plump and hydrate the skin. Some additional facts about this is that it's made with high-tech skin-loving ingredients, and it also has flexible pigments that will seamlessly adapt to your skin. And then it's going to be mica-free and non-comedogenic. The formula is going to be vegan, gluten-free, and cruelty-free. So applying this on the skin, I was like, this looks stunning. So getting into the packaging of the concealer, I do like the packaging. It's nice and sleek. I like the frosted look of it. It's very similar to the foundation, which I absolutely do love. And I do have a full review of this foundation on my channel if you are interested in it. I wear the shade 340 Medium Cool. If you're on Sephora and you scroll through the pictures, it actually does have a chart that helps you to select your concealer shade in correspondence with your foundation shade. So for shade 340 in the foundation, which is what I wear, it says if you want a concealer to match your foundation shade, get shade 34. If you want a concealer to brighten, you should get shade 30. I went with shade 31, and I really do like how this one looks, but 30 probably would be a tinge lighter and give me more of that brightened effect. But I do like this shade, so I don't know if I'm going to keep it or exchange it for another shade, but I do like this one, but it could be a little lighter. So I don't know, we'll see how it wears to determine if I want to keep this shade or if I want to go a little bit brighter. But that is available for you in case you are trying to figure out what shade would be best for you. When applying this concealer, I felt like it applied amazingly. What I do like about it, just straight off the bat, is that you do have like a little bit of a pull, a little bit of a suction almost with this concealer wand, so you don't have to worry about too much concealer coming out. It kind of takes off that excess off, so you get the perfect amount of concealer already on the doe foot, and you don't have to worry about putting on too much at one time. Here's a closer look at what the doe foot applicator looks like. I like the size of it too, because it's not too small, but it's also not too big. It just fits right there perfectly in the corner of the eyes. And I like that it has that nice pointed tip, so you can get into like nice corners and then, you know, smoothly apply the concealer onto the face directly from the wand. I think this blended in effortlessly to the skin. and it just looked very skin, like very natural on the skin. Like, I love the way that this looked off of first impression. I was like, okay, I'm so here for this already. Now, it doesn't say that this is a self-setting formula, but the Makeup by Mario one does say it. So I did not set my under eye outside of the eyeshadows that I applied on the lower lash line, because I wanted to see how does this look and wear if I decide not to set it. Because if you do have dry skin and you don't like using powder, I hope this will be helpful for you. And then if you do have more normal to oily skin, then you can gauge, you know, is powder gonna help, and things like that. I just added, just for reference, I did add a little bit of powder along my jawline and like right around this area, just to set the foundation that I did apply. But I really tried to keep the powder away from like this area of the face, so we could really see a nice comparison between the two. And for reference, when I applied both of these concealers initially, I had no foundation or product on my face. It was just the concealers directly applied to my skin. Now moving on to the Makeup by Mario Surreal Skin Awakening Concealer. This does retail for $29. It comes in 22 shades, and we get a total of 0.2 ounces of product or 5.8 milliliters of product. So a little less product in the Makeup by Mario compared to the Haus Labs. I did pick up shade 320, which is for medium peach undertones or complexions. Now getting into the details of the Makeup by Mario concealer, this is going to be a pro performance multi-use concealer that will visibly lift, blur, and brighten your under eyes and complexion for an awakened appearance. This formula is also claiming to be medium coverage and having a natural finish, just like the Haus Labs. And I don't know if I said that with Haus Labs, but it is a medium coverage type of concealer as well. Some of the highlighted ingredients for this concealer will be caffeine. This will visibly reduce puffiness and dark circles. And then we have fermented marine microorganisms. This will smooth the skin with collagen-like stimulation and a visibly tightened effect. Some additional information about this concealer is that it's going to have a buildable formula that will conceal even the darkest under eye circles. It's going to be crease proof, long wearing, and it also has a self-setting formula, so that if you do not want to wear powder, you technically should not have to wear powder. And this is going to also be vegan, cruelty-free, and gluten-free. So when applying this concealer, this is not my first time wearing this concealer because I've had this one just a little bit longer than the Haus Labs. I will say a little bit goes a very, very long way. But I forgot to do a comparison between the packaging. The packaging of this concealer looks very on par and similar to the packaging of the Surreal Skin foundation. I do love this foundation and it looks stunning on the face. And in the Makeup by Mario foundation, I wear shade 17N. Makeup by Mario also has a comparison chart for your foundation shade compared to your concealer shade. Now, just FYI, I did not look at either of these shade charts before picking up the concealers. I went in store and decided on what I liked better for the Makeup by Mario. And then for the Haus Labs, I just went off what I liked. I didn't even look at it. And usually I do go look to see which one would be a good comparison, but just putting it out there, so if you're wondering why I didn't get the recommended shades, that's why, because I didn't look for them. I didn't do it. So for Makeup by Mario, they say if you wear shade 17N, the corresponding concealer shade would be either 360 Peach or 380 Golden. I will explain to you why I might consider shade 360 later on in the video, but I did go with this shade. I tried 340, and between 340 and 320, I liked this shade better. The wand on this one is just a typical doe foot wand, and although we do have a little bit of resistance to try to get some of that product off, I have found that every time I have used this concealer, I have applied way too much, okay? Way too much. So when you pull it out, I would suggest swiping off the excess product, because so little of this product goes a very long ways. Like, you do not need a lot of this to get the coverage that you need. The first clip that you saw, I applied way too much concealer, but honey, the coverage was so noticeable. And I would say with this Makeup by Mario concealer, they say that the coverage is medium, but this for sure can build to full coverage, because I felt like you couldn't see no trace of my freckles the first time I applied it. Now in the second clip, I'm applying it the way that I'm wearing it today. I still feel like I applied too much of the concealer because I didn't need all of this additional coverage. But you can see more of my freckles today. So I would say if you apply probably the recommended amount, which is just a little bit, this will give you for sure medium coverage. But if you do have darker under eyes, I do feel like this concealer could be one that could address and tackle and cover those under eyes, because this is going to give you a fuller coverage from this concealer. Being that this has caffeine in it, you can definitely see the radiance, that brightened and like reflectiveness of this concealer. And I will admit, I am learning that concealers that have caffeine in it that give you that like really brightened kind of bing effect, I don't really love the most. I feel like sometimes it does too much brightening and it looks more stark against the skin than it needs to, which is why, going back to what I said earlier, I am going to go in store and see what shade 360 looks like, because I do like this peach undertone because it does give me some slight correction. And I feel like maybe 360 will look a little more natural on the skin, because I feel like shade 320, which is what I have here, doesn't look as natural on the skin. Like blending in my foundation, we've definitely meshed the two together and made it work. But I feel like maybe shade 360 might look a little more natural while still giving me that brightened effect. If you've noticed that, definitely leave a comment down below. But I'm not writing off this concealer because it is beautiful. And I do like that lifted effect that I believe it does give. I think that it does brighten that under eye area. And especially if you do have dark circles, I think this concealer will do very well with lifting that darkness underneath there and giving you that lifted, blurred, and brightened effect. Looking at both of these concealers in my studio lighting, I think they both look very beautiful, but like I mentioned before, you do see that more brightened effect coming from the Makeup by Mario. And for two reasons. This shade is lighter and it does have that caffeine in it to really kind of boost and brighten the under eye area. But I do feel like with the Haus Labs, even though this shade is not as light as the Makeup by Mario shade, I do feel like we still see that like brightened effect as well. It's not dull under the eyes. I do feel like this does have a slightly blurring effect as well. And I think it just looks really, really pretty. Moving into natural lighting, I was like, this is where it gets hard, because they both look beautiful in natural lighting. And I kept looking at the Makeup by Mario side because it just looked so like juicy and radiant and luscious. And then I felt like the Haus Lab side looked like just like natural, perfected skin. And I was like, I don't know which one I like better, because I like both. Like combining both of these, maybe magic, okay? I did combine both along my nose, and when I went down the center of my nose, I put the Haus Labs down first and then the Makeup by Mario on top, because I couldn't figure out which one I wanted to use, so we're gonna use both. And both sides look beautiful for different reasons. So with the Makeup by Mario, because it said that it does have a self-setting formula, I did the same thing. Didn't set the under eye area outside of the shadows that I used to place on the lower lash line. Because I wanted to see, is this truly a self-setting formula? Do we need some powder? How are these looking at the end of the day? Especially because Makeup by Mario's is claiming to be a long-wearing, crease-proof formula, okay? Haus Labs doesn't have those same claims, but I do feel like just by how the foundation wears, I do feel like this is also going to be a long-wearing formula that's going to look really beautiful at the end of the day. Those are my assumptions. We'll just have to wait till the end of the day to see if that's right. Coming in close so we can get a better look at both of these concealers. I've had both of them on now for almost 4 hours, and I think almost 4 hours in, both are looking really, really beautiful. Now, I do feel like we do see a more radiant look on the Makeup by Mario side compared to the Haus Lab side. But we do see just like a nice little bit of juiciness coming around my nose. I don't feel like those are oils yet. My skin is a little bit more normal. I haven't been sweating. I'm not hot or anything. I just feel like that's just the wear from the concealers, and the concealers kind of just settling into my skin. but I do feel like both sides look really pretty. Now, if I'm looking at the blurred effect, since both of the concealers are claiming to blur, I personally feel like I see a bit more of a blurring effect coming from the Haus Lab side compared to the Makeup by Mario side. And if I come back in closer, you can see my pores are more prevalent along my cheeks. And I feel like we see them a little bit less on the Haus Lab side compared to the Makeup by Mario side. You guys let me know what you see down below. But that's what I see looking in my mirror over here. Other than that, I am very pleased with how things are looking like. In a flash photography, I felt like because of the caffeine in the Makeup by Mario side, you do see more of like an almost flashback effect. But once again, I feel like maybe if I had shade 360, I don't know if we would notice that. So I'm not gonna say that the Makeup by Mario provides or gives flashback, but I do, and I will say, if you get a shade that is, if I could say maybe too light for your complexion, like maybe 3 or more shades lighter, it is going to look quite stark under the eye in flash photography. Whereas the Haus Labs looked very natural, looked very skin-like, and looked very beautiful in flash photography. So I did want to point that out and make that comparison, because for me, if I were to keep shade 320 in the Makeup by Mario, I don't know if I'm gonna wear this during flash photography because I don't want it to look too stark. And by the time I had taken flash photography, I had applied foundation on my face. I went in with the Armani Luminous Silk foundation in the shade 8.75, and I just lightly blended that into the perimeter of my face and kind of just blended the edges of the concealer so things looked a little bit more uniform. But wanting to point that out so that you knew what was used. So I am going to go about the rest of my day, wear these concealers, check back in at least another 4.5, 5 hours later so we can see what they look like at the end of the day. So stay tuned and let's see which one is gonna look the best at the end of the day. Okay guys, we are back. It is the end of the day and I've had both of these concealers on for almost 12 hours. I'm literally like 10 minutes shy of 12 hours. So let's come in close and see what things are looking like. Okay, so remember we have the new Haus Labs on this side of the face and then the Makeup by Mario on this side of the face. So quickly to recap the claims. Remember with Makeup by Mario, we said that this was going to be very long wearing, crease proof, and self-setting. Well, I don't know about that completely. So look, I'm gonna come in real close, okay? We're gonna get real personal. And I'm gonna look up and down and you can see that we've got some creasing right along there. But of course, like when I look regular, you don't see the creasing as much, but I did notice that. But look at Haus Labs, we see no creasing whatsoever, no separation of the concealer like we see right here. I tried my best not to like rub my eyes. I didn't cry today or do anything that I feel would make, you know, one eye maybe not look as well as the other. Definitely did a lot of talking today, which, you know, would allow for my face to move. I did a lot of smiling and things like that. But I feel like Haus Labs, I mean, she came for the showdown, okay? So here's the thing. My mirror is over here, so if I keep looking over here, that's why. Remember I told you guys I didn't put any powder under the eyes because I wanted to see how long wearing both of them were. Makeup by Mario was the one that said you don't need a powder because we have a self-setting formula. I would say that for me, I have more normal skin. I want to powder both sides of my face. And moving forward, when I wear these concealers, I will set them with even just a smidge of powder. I think the Haus Labs side actually does look better in terms of it not needing to be set with powder as much as, excuse me, the Makeup by Mario. But I feel like we do see more radiance from the Makeup by Mario side than we do the Haus Labs side. I also do want to point out that I have made the conclusion that I do feel that the shade 320 in the Makeup by Mario is going to be more light than I want it to be. So I am going to take the concealer back. Where are they at? They're right here. I am going to take this concealer back and see if shade 360 would be better, because I feel like this shade 320 is just too bright for my liking. And like I mentioned before, I think about the Charlotte Tilbury concealer. That one, I remember having caffeine in it. There's another concealer that has caffeine in it, and I remember like it's just too kind of bright. So like the shade that I would get in that concealer if it didn't have the caffeine, like this shade 320 might have been a good shade for me if it didn't have caffeine in it. But because of that extra brightening effect, I do need, you know, a deeper shade. I think that's number one, my first kind of like call out for the Makeup by Mario. I do like the formulation of the Makeup by Mario. I think it is really pretty. I think it looks nice and radiant, and I do like the brightening effect. But I don't know if it's going to be as blurring as the Haus Labs is. I feel like this Haus Labs really perfected the blur. This Haus Labs definitely looks more skin light than the Makeup by Mario. Makeup by Mario said it's skin light. It also said that it was more medium. And I feel like today I didn't use nearly as much concealer as I did the first time I applied the Makeup by Mario. But I still feel like this gave me more of a fuller coverage type of look. So, you know, if I were going for like full glam and I wanted to have all the coverage and all of that like brightening effect, the Makeup by Mario is going to be the one that I would reach for, because it's going to give me that. Whereas the Haus Labs, I feel, is going to give me more of that natural looking skin type of look to the skin. Even if I went up a shade so that this shade was lighter, I feel like it's still going to look more skin-like, more natural. And this particular one, I do feel I see more of that blurred effect. One of you all commented on my reels when I was comparing the two concealers, and one of you all was like, I think the Haus Labs one looks like it would be better for people who want a little bit more of a mattified look, and the Makeup by Mario would be a concealer for people who wanted more of like a dewier or hydrated look. And I would say that I feel like the Haus Labs is going to be more of that universal concealer. When I say universal, meaning that I could see this concealer working well for people who have dry skin, normal skin, combination, and oily, like all the spectrums of skin. And of course, you prep the skin how you like your skin to be prepped, and then I feel like this concealer would work well with however you like to prep it. More hydration, more powder. I feel like the Makeup by Mario one, I don't see people with oily skin enjoying this because of that extra radiance, because I feel like the radiance could be confused with oiliness, especially if you do have more oily skin. And I could just see someone being like, all of that extra bling is just a bit too much for me, even if you got a shade that, you know, complemented your skin more. And at this point, I'm not even talking about the shade with the Makeup by Mario. I'm just talking about the brightening effect. I would say that in terms of this formulation being hydrating, I don't think this formulation would be hydrating enough to where if you had dry skin, you could just comfortably go in with this concealer by itself. I would definitely still say prep your skin so that your skin is properly hydrated and then apply this. It reminds me a lot of the Makeup by Mario foundation, right? So when I first tried this foundation, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so like head over heels in love with this. This is like the just radiant of the radiant type of foundation. I think I remember saying, I feel like an angel came and like sat on my face and gave me the radiance. This is a beautiful foundation. But what I found with wearing this foundation after like a week of wear is that it wasn't as hydrating as I initially thought. Meaning that this was not a foundation I could just throw on my face and not feel like my face still needed maybe a little bit more prep of hydration. That's what I feel about this concealer. I think it's a concealer that if you prep your skin accordingly, if you have dry skin, you'll be fine and you would enjoy it. It'll give you that like light reflection, and I think you could enjoy that. Normal skin, same thing. Like for me, I have more normal skin. So today I went in with the Yummy Glow Serum before I applied the concealers and my foundation. And I feel like my skin looks really beautiful and healthy. It's not looking cakey or dry. But I feel like if I might have like kind of was rushing, didn't do my skincare like I normally would, I could see this potentially maybe being a little bit not as hydrating as I want it to be. Not dry, not gonna say dry, but just not as hydrating as I want it to be. So I think the Makeup by Mario concealer might be enjoyed better for people who have normal to drier skin. Maybe combination skin if you do like to have a little bit of a radiant finish with your products. If you went in with this and then set your skin with a powder that you enjoy, you might still like this because that radiance might still be able to come through. And then oily skin, I don't know if this would be your cup of tea, but please, if you do have oily skin and you love this concealer, please leave it in the comment section below so that we'll have a better understanding of how this might work for people with oily skin. But if I had to choose between the two, I'm going with Haus Labs. This one, it just looks so beautiful on the skin. And I'm not even talking about shade difference because once again, you know, we can correct the shade difference. I'm more so just talking about the way that my skin looks. I like that it is more blurring across my pores. I like that this particular concealer, I feel, does allow for the skin to look natural. It gives me good solid medium coverage. I don't think we're getting up to full coverage with this concealer, but we can get a very solid medium coverage. And it just looks very smoothing on the skin. And it's just beautiful. And we've got 33 shades in the Haus Labs, whereas we have 22 shades. So if, you know, depending on the shade that you are looking for, the undertone that you're looking for, might have a better chance in finding one in Haus Labs. Not saying that you, like, it's a definite, but, you know, might be able to find a better shade in the Haus Labs. But for me, Haus Labs wins the showdown for just how blurred the side of my face looks, and I think it looks just a little more perfected than the Makeup by Mario side. But I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below. Tell me which side that you like better, and which side you prefer. Or if you have one or both of these concealers, let us know your thoughts down below, because, you know, my thoughts are just my thoughts and my opinions. But if you feel differently and you want to share that, we'd love to hear it. And if you made it to this point in the video and you have yet to subscribe to my channel, I would love for you to consider subscribing and joining the Glam Girl Squad, because we love to have you. And guys, that is it. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope to see you in my very next video. Bye, guys.